Have you ever thought to yourself, why do my images look so boring compared to all the photographers you see on Instagram? Well, you see, that is because they edit their images inside of Lightroom. But you don't have to worry, friends, because I have been editing inside of Lightroom for a decade or so, and I'm gonna show you some tips on how you can do it as well. But make sure to stick around to the end, because the last one is such a banger for everyone who wants to post their images to Instagram. Alright, but first one, let's say you have your image here. So what we are going to do is go down here to dehaze, and we are going to bring the dehaze down a little bit. Not too much, but maybe somewhere around there. And then we are also going to do the same with the clarity. And what this is going to do is just that it is going to soften out a lot of the edges and just give it that more glowy look. But now you can also see that it's a little bit more washed out. There's not that much contrast left in the image. So we're going to bring back some contrast with the tone curve down below. So we're going to just give it sort of a simple little S curve, maybe a little bit more contrast like that. We could also bring up the blacks just a little bit. And just by doing that, you can see that we have a little bit more contrast in the image once again. But now to get the color, what we're going to do is go up to the white balance. So we are going to bring in a bit more purple in the tint and also some yellows in the temperature. And just like that, you have a much softer and colorful, vibrant sunset image. Alright, and now for tip number 2, which is probably one of the most powerful tools inside of Lightroom, and that is the masking tool. And what masks do is just that it lets you create a selection of the image and only applies changes to that specific part. So there are a lot of different ways you can use masking, but I'm just going to show you a few here. So let's say we have this example here. We are going to go and add a new mask, and we're going to do the subject one. And just by pressing that, you can see that our subject here has gotten this red color around it, which just shows where the mask is selected. And now we can do changes to just this part of the image. So let's say we want to make him pop a little bit more, so we're gonna add a little bit more contrast. We want him to be a little bit brighter, and yeah, something like that. We are also going to give him some more clarity, just to make him pop just a little bit more. And like that, we have done changes to just the subject of our image. But let's say we want to do changes only to our background. Then what we could do is go up to our masks here and right click it and go down to duplicate and invert mask. This is going to create another mask, which is only going to select the background, because it is the inversion of the first mask that we have. So now you can see the red color only affecting the background. So what we can do now, let's say we want to bring down the exposure a little bit in the background, just to make him pop a little bit more once again. Say we do something like this, but now the whole background is a little bit too dark. So a super nice hack to get a little bit more depth in your photo could be to go to your mask up here and go down to the plus and minus sign here. And if we press the minus sign, we can subtract from mask and choose a linear gradient. So we can do something like this, and you can move it around a little bit. But now you can see that the mask that we have created in the background only affects the background, but then we have a linear gradient over that, which means that it is also only going to affect the bottom right corner of the image. So if we do changes now, you can see that it only applies to the background, but also it has sort of a nice fade. So let's do something like that. And then what we can do is also right click that one as well and duplicate it. And what we're going to do now is go to this linear gradient one here, the subtraction, and we are going to invert that one, which means if we do changes now, it's only going to apply the top left corner. And this way we can do changes there as well. We could add a little bit. Let's say we want to add some color in that background. It should be a little bit like bright and blue or something. Maybe like that. And like this, you can continue to add more masks just to create minor changes to specific parts of your image. So let's do another one. Let's say we want to do something. All right, let's just to show you something. Let's do a radial gradient. So we're going to do a circle, but make it a little bit like stretch out like this, and we're going to rotate it because we want to mimic where the light is coming from. So like this, and we are going to add a little bit more exposure here, just like that, so that it looks like the image, so that we just increase the effect of where the light is coming from, and this just adds a little bit of extra depth to the image. And then if you want to see the before and after you have applied your mask, you can go up here to this little eye, just press and hold, and you can see what it looks like before, and if you release, what it looks like after. And as you can see, by just applying a few different masks and doing small changes to specific parts of the image, we can make the subject pop a little bit more and get more depth into a photo by changing the light on different parts of the image. I don't know how many times I've said that now. All right, you understand. Let's move on to the third one. This is a mistake, I guess, I see a lot of beginner photographers make. And that is when you're photographing, let's say landscapes, it can be really hard to expose when you have a bright sun. So let's see if I have a good image here. All right, and for this hack, let's take this image here, for example, and let's just apply a quick preset, maybe this one, and bring down the exposure a bit. Something like this. And as you can see on this image, the sun is overexposed while the rest of the image is properly exposed then. But what you can see here is that when the sun is quite overexposed, you get this like quite harsh line between where it's going from overexposed to being properly exposed. And this is something that I personally think is a big mistake around for beginner photographers, because I don't think it looks really nice. So what you can do to avoid this, which can work on some images, is that when you have your image here, you can go up to masks once again, and you can go and make a radial gradient, and we're going to create it over the sun and the horizon here. Maybe something like this, and feather it a little bit more. Then we're going to go down to the effects tab, and we're going to bring down the dehaze, and we're going to bring down the clarity, and also the texture. And if we do something like this, so now you can't really see the overexposed sun anymore. It is more of a gradient over the whole horizon, which I think looks a lot better than having an overexposed sun with those harsh lines around it. Then I think this looks a lot better. But that's just my opinion, and editing is always going to be something very subjective, so just do whatever you like. But here is a quick hack on how you can avoid that, at least. Alright, I hope you are enjoying this video, and if you are, I guess, please do consider subscribing, liking the video, leaving a comment down below. I really truly love hanging out with you guys and talking to you. So yeah, please just write me a message. And I'm just so super happy that we have passed 1,000 subscribers. And we are continuing to growing, which is so exciting. It just makes me want to create more and more videos, and I have so many videos written down and ideas, so it's just a matter of time. I'm super excited. But let's continue with the fourth hack, shall we? Team, friends. And this is actually another mistake I see a lot of beginner photographers make, and that is not cleaning up their images in post-production. And here I'm not only talking about removing like dust spots on your lens and stuff like that, because that you should always do, but I'm also talking about removing, you know, unnecessary things in the foreground, on the sides of the images, or in the background, just things that could take the attention away from the subject and the image towards just unnecessary spots and ugly things. But the easiest way to remove these things inside of Lightroom is to go up here to the spot removal tool, and sometimes it can be really hard to find those small spots on the screen because it might look really good. But what you can do then is go down here to visualize spots, and if you press that, you get this like outlined image or an outline of your image. And now you can zoom in and you will have a much easier time to find those small spots. So you can just go in, whoops, and remove those. And we have one here and here. And you can also see that we have a lot of them here in the foreground as well. So we can go in and remove those too. But this visualize spots tool is really good. And you can also use the slider to slide it back and forth to find all of those spots. Now I can see another one here as well. So let's go to that one and remove it. But as I said, it doesn't only has to be those small spots. It can also be other things in the image that you want to remove. So let's take this one for example. Here you can see my friend Adam is taking images of the racers as well, but I don't really want him to be in the image. Then I can just go here, choose the spot removal tool, increase the size of it, and remove him as well. Now it took a copy of, and just like that, Adam is gone from the image as well. And then you could also go in, remove small rocks like this, and just clean up the image just to make sure that the attention is drawn towards what you want it to be drawn towards. Don't forget to clean up your images. That's just what I'm trying to say here. All right, and now for the last hack, the one that you have all been waiting for, and that is my workflow on how to always get the sharpest images for my Instagram posts. And this is something that I know a lot of people asks about and wonders about. How do I get the sharpest images for Instagram? And here's my workflow inside of Lightroom. What I always do when I'm done with an edit and I want to export it, before that I always go down to the detail tab. Here I go to sharpening, I grab the masking and I bring this up, and if I hold down option on Mac, I can see that I am creating a selection, and the white part is the part that is being selected. And I'm just going to bring it up quite far up, just so that the edges of all of my subjects are selected, but nothing else. And then I'm going to add a little bit of sharpening. And now, since I have brought up the masking, this sharpening effect is only going to be applied to that specific part of the mask. So now if I bring up the sharpening, only the edges is going to be sharpened. So I'm going to bring it up just a little bit, maybe to around 60. And this is going to add a little bit of sharpness to the edges of my subject. And then what I'm going to do is go down to noise reduction. I always bring up the noise reduction just a little bit, something like this, just to make sure that the images are nice and smooth. I also bring up the color noise reduction, also just a little bit. And then I also go down to the effects tab and I add a little bit of grain. This also gives the effect that the image is a little bit sharper. Those edges get a little bit sharper, I think. And that is pretty much all I do here in the editing part. Then I go to export and let's export. Here in the export tab, I make sure that the file setting is at 100% at the quality. And then I go down to output sharpening. Here I always add sharpen 4, screen, and then standard. This just gives it a little bit more sharpness around the edges, just to make sure that it's going to look the best for your Instagram post. And that is my workflow for getting those sharp images for Instagram. Just following all of those steps gives the images that extra little bit of sharpening. Alright, and those were a few different Lightroom hacks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Now I need to go unpack and clean this apartment. And I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.